Hello and namaskara. A very warm welcome to today's very interesting session on the role of science and tech in preserving Indian culture and indigenous knowledge. So sometimes it is seen that the tradition and the science is seen separate. But how about using science and tech for the preservation of the old tradition, ancient culture? We Indians have deep rooted culture, a diaspora that we are proud of. There is diversity, the food, the culture, the tradition, the festivals. Well, I welcome you to this very interesting session now. Well, before I begin, there's a small announcement. Let me tell you, we at Universal Group of Institutions are offering you degree courses, and along with that, we prepare you for the job. You can check the description box, and to avail a seat, you can use my referral code NIT006 and avail attractive discounts. And I'm hopeful that you have already subscribed to the channel. Do not forget to hit the like button and do drop your comments below. All right, with this, let's get started. Well, let's start with the introduction. India is renowned for its diverse and ancient cultural tradition. So, of course, there is a need to preserve it, there is a need to digitize it, there is a need to store it, there is a need to propagate it, there is a need to preserve it. Let's see how science and tech can be helpful. So, science and tech, of course, we can make use of the different tools thanks to the science and tech for documenting, preserving, and promoting the traditional practices. Okay. So, what are the key areas where science and tech can actually assist, can actually aid the cultural preservation? Well, the different areas are in archiving the ancient manuscripts and art, in preserving the language. Now, oral language is also there, and the traditions can also be preserved using AI. We'll talk about more on this. Enhancing the heritage site accessibility via virtual experiences. So if you've been to Hampi, you would have seen that there is a virtual guide to assist you with the heritage, because Hampi is again one of the very important historical sites, and many such historical sites have these use of the science and tech, where there is an online virtual guide that can help you and understand the area around. Then validation and promotion of the traditional medicinal system. We know that naturopathy is something which is taking rounds right now. People have immense interest in Ayurveda and natural medicine, not just in India, but world over. So what can be done to promote these traditional medicines? That can also be taken care of by science and tech. Now, the digital archiving of the cultural heritage. What does that mean? That the ancient manuscripts like Rig Veda and Upanishads needs to be digitized, right? The use of the high resolution scanning and cloud storage. Of course, there are huge volumes, and the projects like National Mission for Manuscripts and Bhandarkar Institute are taking care of these archiving processes. Let me in fact give you more details about these projects. National Mission for Manuscripts, which we commonly call as NMM. This was launched in 2003 under the Ministry of Culture, and the aim was, of course, to identify, document, conserve, and digitize the Indian manuscript. The highlights were it created a national manuscript library network. It digitized lakhs of manuscripts across languages like Sanskrit, Pali, Persian, etc. And it collaborates with libraries, temples, mutt, and private collections. The public access via the Kriti Sampada digital portal is given here. In fact, I would really love that you guys can access this www.namami.government.in, and it turned out to be an amazing portal. So I happened to visit this portal, and there are amazing content in this website. I would highly recommend you guys to go through this. Please do note it down, www.namami.government.in. As an Indian, if nothing else, you are surely going to feel proud. Trust me on this. So you can, of course, see this is how the portal looks like. Do you have manuscripts, memory of the world? There is Pandulipi, Patala, all of these, the conservation, digitization, publication, outreach. So you can see how important this portal is. Now moving ahead, there is Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute, Bori, which is in Pune. It was founded in 1917. The role is home to one of the most prestigious collections of ancient Indian texts and manuscripts. In fact, when I saw the campus, I was stunned by looking at the campus for sure. You can see that it looks no less than like a temple. And for sure, it has a temple of knowledge, and that too in a digitized form. Well, the contributions are digitized rare Sanskrit manuscripts. It published a critical edition of Mahabharata, and it collaborates with universities and scholars globally. Trust me, the scriptures that we as a nation have, they are exemplary, they are masterpiece. And if I talk about just the book Mahabharata, it in itself has plethora of characters which can become a book in its own self. If you've read it, you would know the characters like Karna, Arjuna, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and how all of these, we find these kind of characters all around us every day, isn't it? Then of course the main characters, there are so many books on just the main characters, like if I talk about Draupadi and if I talk about Arjuna. Well, let's now continue our discussion. The language preservation now using AI. So AI is ever evolving. The potential of AI we are yet to explore. You can see that the internet is exploding, the content on YouTube is exploding from the images generated by AI. The AI has brought a revolution. The delta is far beyond our capacity to perceive. And when it comes to the language preservation, let's find out how AI can be used in language preservation. So here, AI, artificial intelligence and natural language processing, these can be used to aid the transcription and then translation. So transcription is the scripting process from the hard copy to the digital copy, and then the translation. Then the speech to text aid, voice recognition tools document oral histories, and essential for preserving endangered dialects. So even so that the old dialects could be preserved, we can actually make use of the technology, the science and tech, and preserve those old dialects so that they're not lost. All right. Now, virtual and augmented reality applications. The VR AR enables immersive experiences of the cultural landmarks. So if you've seen, even Apple recently has launched its virtual reality gadget. Well, imagine you're putting something on your eyes and you can take entire tour of a historical place, or you can actually get to know the tradition or the culture in an immersive manner, isn't it? So AR in museums makes learning more engaging. Just recently, I have done a video on Mahakumbh, and I mentioned about the digital Mahakumbh which was there, in which there was a huge immersive experience because there were different images that were projected all over using AI. There were movies, small little movies with AI characters to make you understand why Mahakumbh happened. So all of this is what? Basically the preservation of the old culture. Mahakumbh is nothing but an old culture, old tradition that has been followed for years. And this Mahakumbh came after 144 years, right? So what is this? Basically, it is the preservation of the old culture and the tradition. And we made use of the science and tech immensely. Do make sure you go to the playlist and check out the video. I'll also post the video in the description below. All right, now, increases youth appreciation of cultural heritage. The only way we can make the current generation, the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha, connect to the culture, the tradition, is by technology. Don't you agree? Okay, now let's go ahead. Let's talk about the scientific research in traditional medicine. The traditional system studied with scientific methods Research enhances the credibility and international acceptance. For example, in our culture, we had been using curcumin, which is haldi, for years, cardamom for years. When it comes to neem, we were consuming neem for years. We were following the fasting for years. Now it's a very nascent and new Western concept of intermittent fasting that has come. But we've always been following it without knowing the scientific reasons behind it. So the moment the science is attached to an old tradition, it becomes very credible, isn't it? And hence it is important to actually pick up our tradition. And let me tell you, nothing is non-scientific. There is a scientific reasoning for every aspect of the culture that we have. Okay, so yeah, research enhances this credibility, and hence we should promote this research. We should pick up this research. More PhDs should come in this regard. More research agencies should help in this regard. All right. Now, the institutions like these, CCRAS and Ministry of Ayush, are doing wonders in this particular regard. In fact, there are many challenges in cultural preservation also via science and tech, because the cultural dilution due to the Western influences always takes place. The indigenous knowledge underrepresented in education. We hardly study about it in our books, in our junior classes, and the awareness gap among the younger generation. So we need to bridge this gap. This lacuna has to be bridged, and the only way out is science and tech, right? Okay, now, role of the government and institutions. So IGNCA, which is Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, National Council of Education and Research and Training, which is NCRT, and ASI, Archaeological Survey of India. And let me tell you, all three of them, their acronyms are very important and can be asked in prelims directly. Okay, so do make note of them. They use 3D scanning and satellite imagery for the creation of the digital archives and databases. In fact, National Education Policy 2020 promotes the cultural knowledge in this curriculum. Well, technology-driven cultural promotion, AI exhibits and storytelling apps share myths in history. The platforms like YouTube, Swayam offers cultural courses, and there is gamification that attracts and educates youth. Okay, now the solutions and way forward. Of course, it requires money. More funding, global collaboration for digitization is required. The local content and regional language is required. In fact, we'll talk about the role of science and tech in promotion of just the regional languages alone in the next video. And the cultural education in curricula. It should be a part of the curriculum to have cultural education. And the students' research in folk traditions and crafts. Well, the ancient culture is not just about the food or the festivities or the traditional practices. It is also about the kind of art which was there at that time. The kind of dance form, the kind of painting, the kind of singing, all of that. Well, with this, we totally understand that, well, science and tech and the ancient culture can't run parallelly. They do have to join hands, and then only they can be the best collaboration which stays forever. How you found today's video? Do let me know in the comments below. With this is me, Nitika, signing off.